Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a piece of hidden Hollywood history, looking at how a single off-camera negotiation literally altered the trajectory of television forever. Long before the endless laughter, the giant mugs of coffee at Central Perk, and the absolute cultural phenomenon of six friends just navigating New York City, there was something far less glamorous happening behind the scenes. We're talking about contracts, we're talking about intense negotiations, and we're going to look at the structural foundation of a television empire through the lens of pure financial chemistry.
I want you to imagine the beloved sitcom exactly as you know it. Now ask yourself, what would happen if the cast never achieved equal pay? The real question we're unpacking today is what happens to the art, the comedy, and the cultural impact if those behind-the-scenes negotiations never led to a unified equal paycheck for its stars? Because, as you'll see, the answer kind of reshapes everything you thought you knew about your favorite on-screen friendships.
Section 1. The secret behind the laughs and off-camera negotiations. Right at the very beginning of the show's run, initial salaries were based on perceived star power and the timing of the actors' contracts. Basically, some actors simply earned more and others earned less, which is, well, the standard, totally unequal norm in Hollywood. But as the show grew into this massive global hit, the cast did something practically unheard of. Instead of competing against each other for higher pay, they actually unified. They pushed together, negotiated as a single entity, and eventually achieved something incredibly rare in television history: equal pay across the entire main cast. It was a massive victory. But to truly understand why this matters to us as viewers, we really have to flip the script.
So let's look at Section 2, a divided alternate reality. And what if they stayed divided? Now, let's move down a hypothetical timeline. At first glance, a divided cast probably wouldn't look any different. In an alternate reality where every single contract renewal turned into a quiet, tense competition behind closed doors, the audience wouldn't immediately notice a thing, right? The jokes still land perfectly. The famous apartment is still wonderfully messy. The coffee is still way overpriced. But quietly, just underneath the surface, a massive shift would begin to take place.
You see, this show wasn't just a sitcom. It was a carefully calibrated equation. Think about it. Ross without Chandler's sarcasm, it just doesn't hit the same. Monica without Rachel's contrast doesn't really land either. And Joey without Phoebe's unpredictability completely loses its rhythm. The show worked so brilliantly because absolutely no one felt like an accessory. Every single piece was vital. But a divided pay structure, that causes that exact equation of balance to crack. Which brings us to Section 3, how money changes power and the shift in creative leverage. Think about how this step-by-step progression actually works in practice. When you have unequal pay, the highest-paid actors inevitably gain more creative leverage. It's just how the business works. This naturally pushes us to a point where those specific actors are prioritized in storylines, given stronger character arcs, and positioned way more centrally in the marketing. Meanwhile, the lower-paid cast members start to feel replaceable, even if they're absolutely essential to the chemistry. Season after season, you've completely altered the show's identity. And writers and producers, even completely unintentionally, tend to reinforce this hierarchy. It's really just human nature in that high-stakes environment. I mean, if the system is paying one actor significantly more, how do they justify that massive expense? By giving them more screen time or more emotional weight in the script. Because of this hierarchy effect, lower-paid ensemble members slowly fade into the background. And the real tragedy here is, it wouldn't be because of a lack of talent, but simply due to contract dynamics. Once that shift begins, man, it's extremely difficult to reverse without massive tension. Let's move to Section 4, the loss of chemistry and the erosion of off-screen unity. There is a harsh truth in Hollywood. Money differences create emotional distance. Even subtle money differences cause trust to weaken. A cast that once joked around together in the trailers might start separating into smaller groups between takes, conversations shift, and that vital sense of we're all in this together quietly disappears. For a sitcom that relies on timing, comfort, and deep emotional safety between actors to be funny, that is devastating. If someone feels undervalued, their scenes start to feel slightly more guarded, less spontaneous, and just less alive. And trust me, audiences are incredibly sensitive to that kind of change, even if they can't quite put their finger on exactly why. And this brings us to another major ripple effect: replacement thinking. Without unified negotiations, contract renewals become incredibly unstable. One season, an actor demands more, the next, another feels undervalued. This creates massive uncertainty for the studio. And in Hollywood, massive uncertainty breeds replacement thinking. Even if an actor isn't actually replaced, just the mere idea of floating around pressures creative decisions. Studios subtly steer the show towards safer, less character-driven storytelling just to mitigate risk. That corporate mindset is the ultimate enemy of good art, and the exact opposite of what made this specific show thrive on character growth and emotional risks over a whole decade. This leads us to our final part, Section 5, the power of trust and the structural foundation of storytelling. So, stepping back to look at our alternate reality for a second, we get a resulting show that still exists, still airs, and still gets laughs. But it feels slightly off, doesn't it? It feels a little less cohesive. Over time, the audience would instinctively sense that the genuine group of friends they fell in love with had quietly morphed into something else entirely. It would become exactly what this quote says: a hierarchy disguised as a friendship. Shows don't just succeed because of great writing or perfect comedic timing. They succeed because of trust. Trust between the actors, the creators, and every single person building the story together. If there's one major thing to take away from all this, it's that equal pay wasn't just a financial decision, it was a structural one. It was the absolute foundation that protected the show's balance. Ultimately, the equal pay negotiation protected the trust between the actors and creators, making the show feel totally effortless on camera, even when it was anything but effortless behind the scenes. So when you think about those iconic moments today, remember the crucial off-camera decisions that quietly shaped literally everything you saw. So I'll leave you with this thought to reflect on. When people working together are valued equally, does the story they create become stronger than any individual performance? It's a powerful thought, really revealing how the most important decisions shaping the media we love often happen completely out of sight. Keep questioning the structure behind the stories and keep learning.